I turned off some of the components to make it easier to see what is happening. And so I'll go ahead and play this, and we see that this is our input gear. We would have a motor on here normally turning this input gear, which causes this ring gear to turn and the sun and the planets to turn. Now notice that these two indexes aren't lined up, and so we want to line those up. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, and now normally we could have this move at the same time. We put a stepper motor on here, or we might just turn this by hand depending on the machine. And we might, but if we use a stepper motor, we would have some kind of sensors that would sense the location of this and this part, and then to keep those lined up. Or we might want those to turn in opposite directions. We might want to turn some other timing, or maybe we use this as a steering mechanism. So we want one wheel to turn at a different rate than the other wheel to steer around a corner. So a lot of different ways that we could use this, but let's assume that we want these two lined up. So if I drag this one, we can drag that until those pointers are lined up, and then if we play this again, now those two pointers stay in that position. And on some machines you might need to make a little bit of adjustment, so as the machine is running, you have a stepper motor or a hand control to move this a little bit to line up the pointers again if they become out of time. So let's look at how I set this up, and I have it set to run at 60 seconds, and I'm doing 600 calculations, and so I have on the motor, or actually this is on the alignment joint. I have it set to not rotate, so I set it to 0 degrees per second. If I turn this off, it could rotate on its own, so let's turn that off, and I'll play that. And so we see that this is actually rotating on its own now, and I don't want that to rotate on its own, so I'll turn that off. And so I'll go in here to the properties of this one, and I'll tell it 0 degrees per second. Now if I put in an input grapher, I could tell it at a certain time that I do want this one to move, but generally I want this one to be held or not moving. And then for this joint, this would be our input motor. I'm going to set it as 36 degrees per second velocity. So I want to hide the visibility of this part to make it easier to see what's happening inside here. So the same thing is happening down here as up here, except in reverse. And so we'll watch these planets turn the sun gear. So this gear where the motor would be on this one turns this gear, which causes the planets to walk or turn the sun. Alright, so I don't have this one held, so I need to hold this one because I want the planets to turn the sun rather than walk around the sun. So I'll go back. I will hold this one. Okay, so 0 degrees per second. And now I'll play it again. So this one's being held. And this time, as this gear turns, it turns the planets, which turn the sun gears.